Yo, 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 we back. Ladies and gentlemen, how we doing today? We are doing all the bounty hunter missions here in Lego Star Wars, but before we do, I have some predictions here I want to do for the NHL for the upcoming season. So if you're a hockey fan, this will be right up your alley. If you're not, just bear with me, but I'm not going to take too long to do this, but I'm just going to make sure everything's up and going on the stream just fine. But before we do start Lego Star Wars, I want to do the predictions for the upcoming NHL season, where there's only 56 games. So it looks like we're all good to go here, I think. But I'm gonna in the stream, I'll clip this up, so this will be its own stream, or this will be its own video. Then I'll do the Lego Star Wars stuff, and that'll be its own video as well. But I'm just gonna do this really quickly, not anything crazy. But I want to get my predictions out there just to maybe start doing this. But yeah, so with the new North Division, all Canadian, starting in the bottom, it is going to be the Ottawa Senators. They don't look bad, but when you look at the other teams, I don't really think they got much of a chance. I mean, they've made some pretty good acquisitions, but this is just going to be another year where they're just going to get beat a lot. But I bet you there'll be some close games. Tim Stutzel looks really good, along with the rest of the young core they're bringing in and the trade acquisitions they made. I don't think they have enough to be a top team in this division, though. Number 6, Montreal. Like, this division is going to be a dogfight. So putting them at 6th, it's not saying they're bad. It's just these other teams, man. They just got a slight edge above them that I think they won't be able to match. So they got good core guys, but Weber and Price aren't getting any younger. Druin's got to be able to step up more if they want to be good, but I just don't really know how it's going to look. Number 5, Vancouver. So they're taking a step back. They're going to miss the playoffs because it's only the first 4 teams in each division that make it. So it's going to be tough for them. But they lost a lot of key players from last year's team. So I really just don't think they got what it takes to come back this year and make the playoffs, especially in this division. Number 4, Calgary. So they'll be the bottom feeder that'll make it in the playoffs. I mean, their top guys got to step up a bit more. I think they will, enough to the point where they'll be able to slip into the playoffs. So that's kind of what it's looking like for them. Not much to be said about Calgary. They're all right. Number 3, Winnipeg. So their defense has taken a hit, but we saw last year that they were still a pretty good team, even with all the guys they lost. So I still think they can be a top 3 team, especially in this division, with the scoring of Line, Scheifele, who am I forgetting? Wheeler. That's just a good top 6 that they have, and I think it'll be able to carry them to a 3rd place spot here in the North. 2nd place, Edmonton. I mean, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl will carry this team year after year. I mean, there's really no reason why they can't be a top 4 team at least. But second, I think McDavid and Draisaitl are just gonna light up this division, especially like against Ottawa and Montreal. Man, just easy wins for them that they should get. And then number 1, of course, is obviously the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is a cakewalk for their division. I mean, if they don't get first, it's kind of a failure in my opinion, because they got everything they need. They've rebuilt that defense pretty well, but I don't know how they'll do in the playoffs. And I'm not gonna make any I'm not gonna do a whole playoff bracket yet. That'll be when the playoffs actually come. But yeah, that's what the North is looking like, or the Canadian division. So over to the West here, in 8th place, we got Los Angeles. Once again, they are not bad by any means. This is just going to be a growth year for the young guys and all that. So that's basically what it boils down to. Byfield's going to be great. All the other young guys are going to be great, I think. They got a nice future, but I just don't see them doing damage in this division. Number 7, San Jose. They just got too many older players. I don't think they got what it takes this year. They lost Joe Thornton. Not like he was a big loss, but you lose that veteranship on the team, So they're just slowly deteriorating, I think, and I think this is going to be the year where they realize it's over, they got to rebuild. Number 6, Minnesota. They're all right, but they're kind of in that mediocre spot, and I think they're just too scared to rebuild or go all the way, so they're just going to kind of be middle of the road yet again this year. Arizona, I was debating putting them above Minnesota, but they still got Phil Kessel, they still got Clayton Keller. So the way I look at it, Phil Kessel is better than Zach Parise, and Clayton Keller is a little bit better than Kevin. I wouldn't say a little bit better; they're about even, but it's basically boils down to what the goaltending as well. I mean, the goaltending on Minnesota is atrocious. Let's be real. Arizona at least has Ranta and Kuemper. That's a good duo, but I still don't think it's going to be enough for them to make the playoffs. But coming into the playoffs as the 4 seed, the Anaheim Ducks. Yes, I have them coming from 7th to 4th from what they were last year in the normal division. But I like Anaheim's young core that they got. And, the signing of Shattenkirk was pretty nice. So I think with a healthy John Gibson as well, they can probably squeak in the playoffs with, all these other teams kind of collapsing or rebuilding. So yeah, number 3, St. Louis. I mean, they got Mike Hoffman on the team. I think they're going to sign him to like a 1-year deal or something. Their team is pretty well-rounded. Not perfect. They kind of crumbled a little bit last year. Just a little. Well, once they got to the bubble, they kind of crumbled, but they had so many injuries. So that's kind of why they weren't able to do much in the playoffs. But I still think they'll be a fine regular season team. Coming in second, I have Vegas. I mean, Pietrangelo, Lehner, that having those guys for a full year is really going to make the difference. And they already have such a good top 6 consisting of Marchessault, Stone, Carlson, Stasny. So I still think they'll be a strong team in the West. And then obviously in first place, we got the Colorado Avalanche. Nathan McKinnon and Cal McCarr are such a great center defenseman duo. You got Rantanen and Landeskog, Grubauer and Net. I mean, they are just stacked. I mean, I think if they don't get first in the West, it'd be a little bit of a shocker for me. So moving over, oopsie, you get out of here. Moving over to the next 2 divisions, we got the Central, which my team is in, my favorite team, the Detroit Red Wings. So starting off in 8th place, the Chicago Blackhawks. Yes, so they just got announced today that Jonathan Toews will not be playing, and the fact that they really don't have a good goalie tandem, I think they're just going to get lit up in this division. I don't think Patrick Kane can carry him this season, especially with how this division looks, So that's why Chicago's at the bottom here. Number 7, Detroit, moving up 1 spot from what they were last year, so they won't be dead last in the league this year, according to my predictions. Obviously, just another growing pains year, but having Nemestikov and Merle, and who else do we sign? Troy Stetcher and Grice, I think, will give us some more depth. So that way we won't get shelled 5-0, 6-0, 7-1, 7-2, 8-1, all those type of games. So I think they'll just edge out Chicago just by a little bit. Number 6, Nashville. So I think their signings are alright, but it's just not enough. I mean, the core guys got to step up more. They got to have less injuries. Forsberg kind of took a step back this year. Arvidsson was injured a bit, so it's like they got to get more from the guys they're paying the big bucks, and I don't think they got what it takes to hang in there anymore, to be honest. This may be a year where they have to take a step back and reevaluate who they want on their roster. So that's Nashville at 6. Number 5 would be the Florida Panthers. Yet again, just barely missing out the playoffs. I know they got Hornquist and they got Owen Tippett coming up, and I think they added one more piece that I'm kind of forgetting about. Anthony Duclair. They just signed him a couple days ago. But I don't see them beating these other 4 teams that I have. So that's why Florida's going to be at number 5, but just barely missing the playoffs, just barely. Number 4, we got Dallas. I mean, the team that usually does good that makes the Stanley Cup final and loses, they don't do good the next year. So I think once again they're going to drop in the standings just a little bit, but they'll still be able to make the playoffs. But they still got some well-rounded depth. It's just will it be able to transition for a full season as well, So Dallas, I think they'll be okay. Jamie Benn and Sagan, they'll have a bit of rebound now that they just came off a Stanley Cup final appearance. They want to get back there, so it's going to be interesting to see Dallas. Number 3, we have Carolina. I mean, their defense is absolutely loaded. They could have 7-8 guys on that defense that could play every night in the NHL. But, Slavin and Pesce and Hamilton and who's the 4th guy? No, Edmonton's not there anymore. But they just have such a well-rounded defensive core. I think it'll be enough in this shortened season. Sebastian Aho and Teuvo Teravainen are such a great duo in the forward core, so I don't see them dropping in the standings. I see them being right there at 3rd. Number 2, Columbus. So yeah, if Tortorella can get the players to work in his system, they get things done, to say the least. And now that they don't got to deal with all those other metropolitan teams other than Carolina, they kind of got more room to, win more games, because you look at these other opponents and you compare it to the players teams in the East, Columbus can very well beat out a lot of these teams, in my opinion. So if Tortorella can keep that system going, I think they'll be second. And obviously, number one's Tampa, reigning Stanley Cup champs. They need no introduction. They got their core back. Yes, Kucherov is out, but they've been able to do a lot without Stamkos for a majority of these past 2 years, actually. So there's no reason why they can't be first in this division. It's a cakewalk for Tampa. And now the final division here in the East Division. This is going to be a tough one to make predictions on. I feel it can go. Any team can make the playoffs, the way I see it. But sadly, 4 are going to miss, and that's just how it goes. So coming in last place, the New Jersey Devils. So New Jersey's probably the only team I'd say that doesn't have a chance whatsoever to make the playoffs. Obviously, still rebuilding. They got Corey Crawford, which is okay, but I don't see it being enough, man. The forwards and the defense, you got to have players that can produce points. And while their goaltending in Blackwood and Crawford is all right, it's not going to be the end all be all for this team. So I have them finishing last. Number 7, Buffalo, man. The poor Sabres, let me tell you, man. They can just not catch a break. This year, if it was a normal division, in the normal divisions, maybe they could have cracked in the 4th or 5th seed. But with it just being only 4 teams from each division, who knows? I'm doing predictions for the NHL season, Jeff, and then we'll get on to Lego Star Wars. We're almost done here, though. We're playing. Don't worry. But yeah, number 6, we got Pittsburgh. So I think their playoff streak ends. While Crosby and Malkin are great players, the depth around them is dwindling. I don't think it's enough anymore. They are, I think, past their prime, and this is going to be the year where it begins. The first dominoes fall, I believe, for Pittsburgh. And the New York Rangers just slightly missing the playoffs, man. They got a good core, but it's just I don't feel they're ready yet. They may just need another year of building the team up in order to make the playoffs. But Lafreniere is going to be exciting to watch with Panarin and Zibanejad. I mean, I love Zibanejad. He's one of my favorite players, honestly. But I don't know if that defense is enough, and I don't know how their goalie Shesterkin is going to play. So that's kind of how I feel about them. Just barely missing the playoffs like Florida. And then number 4 here, we got the New York Islanders. Barry Trotz, he gets those players. They can play such shutdown defense. I think they'll be able to make the playoffs. They're obviously going to slip a little bit just because this is a harder division, but they're still going to make it nonetheless. So as long as they can sign Barzell, which they still haven't as of the live stream, I think they can make the playoffs. So number 3 is Boston. So I don't think they're going to be as dominant as they were last year because they got Marchand out for a little bit, I believe. And they kind of lost Chara, and so they're a little weak defensively, but I still think that first line is going to be fine with or without Marchand. It's just going to dwindle a little bit, but they'll still be playoff contenders. Number 2, we got the Washington Capitals. So sadly, yes, Lundqvist is not going to be able to play this season because of his heart condition, and now he's going to have surgery. But Samsonov proved that he can be a starter last year, and Ovechkin's still Ovechkin. And, I mean, they made some pretty decent signings that have kept the depth strong there in Washington. And number 1, your team, Jeff, the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, they just have the best, well-rounded core out of these 8 teams, in my opinion. So that's why I think they can get going. If Voracek can have a bounce-back year, everything will be fine there in Philadelphia. I mean, Carter Hart, such a great young goalie. Provorov and Sanheim are 2 good